The grass on the planet's surface shimmered under the twin suns, their golden glow bouncing off violet blades, rustling in the soft wind. The sky, a vast canvas of amethyst, stretched endlessly overhead, and in the distance, towering crystalline trees glittered with azure leaves. This was a planet unlike any other, a sanctuary where the vibrant hues of alien flora painted a surreal landscape. Yet today, it wasn't the scenery that captured the attention of the gathered crowd. It was the figure standing at the edge of the clearing, clad in heavy armor that gleamed under the sunlight. He was a human soldier. The arrival had been unexpected, almost surreal. One moment, the sky was quiet, peaceful, and the next, a metallic craft had descended from the heavens, its engines roaring with unfamiliar power. The landing was controlled but still jarring, its presence stirring up a mix of awe and apprehension. When the hatch opened and the figure emerged, the tension dissolved into excitement. They had never seen a human before. The girls gathered, their delicate features alight with uncontainable curiosity. They were tall and willowy, with skin that shimmered like polished pearl. Their hair flowed like liquid silver, cascading down their backs in waves. Their eyes, larger than a human's, sparkled with iridescent hues, each pair a different blend of gold, lavender, or cerulean. They spoke in soft, musical tones, their voices a harmony of wonder and delight. "He is so strange," one of them whispered, clutching the arm of her friend, her voice trembling with barely suppressed excitement. "Look at his face," another added, leaning in for a better view. "So angular. And his eyes. They are so small." The soldier stood still, unsure how to react. His helmet was tucked under his arm, revealing a face that was hardened but not unkind. He was clearly a veteran, his expression guarded, though a faint hint of amusement flickered across his features as he took in the wide-eyed crowd. "Is it true?" one of the girls asked, stepping forward, her translucent dress swaying with each movement. "Is it true that humans are made of iron?" Her voice trembled with wonder, as if she couldn't quite believe the stories she'd heard. The soldier chuckled softly, the sound deep and resonant. "Not exactly," he replied. "We're flesh and blood, like you, but a bit tougher, I guess." The group erupted into soft laughter, their musical giggles filling the clearing like the tinkling of wind chimes. One of them reached out, her fingers delicate and graceful, and gently touched the exposed skin of his hand. Her touch was feather-light, and she gasped in surprise. "Warm," she murmured. "I thought you'd be cold, like metal." Another girl joined in, tilting her head as she studied him intently. "Do you eat, like us?" she asked, her curiosity unrelenting. He nodded, the corner of his mouth twitching upward. "Food, yes. But not the kind you have here, I'm sure." Their enthusiasm was contagious, and despite himself, the soldier found his defenses lowering. They were fascinated, yes, but not in a way that felt threatening. It was as if he were an artifact from a distant world, something novel and thrilling. "Do you fight often?" one asked, her tone shifting from playful to serious. "Are the stories true about human warriors?" His smile faded slightly, replaced by a somber expression. "More than I'd like," he admitted. "But not all humans enjoy war. Some of us fight to protect, not destroy." There was a moment of silence, the gravity of his words settling over the group. One of the girls, taller than the rest, her silver hair tied back with a braided ribbon, stepped closer. Her gaze was softer, more thoughtful. "We do not understand war," she said quietly. "Here, we live in peace. But you carry the weight of many battles." He glanced at her, appreciating the sincerity in her voice. "Peace is a rare thing in the galaxy," he replied. "You're lucky to have it." The group exchanged glances, their excitement tempered by a newfound respect. They saw not just the novelty of a human but the complexities beneath the armor. Yet, despite the gravity of the moment, their excitement could not be entirely quelled. One of the younger ones, unable to contain herself any longer, blurted out, "Show us something. A human trick." The soldier raised an eyebrow, amused once again. "A trick?" he asked. "Yes," she insisted, clapping her hands together. "Something only a human can do." He considered for a moment, then grinned. "All right," he said, setting his helmet on the ground. "Watch closely." He knelt, picking up a small, smooth stone from the ground. Holding it between his fingers, he glanced at the group. "Ever seen something fly?" They shook their heads, eyes wide with anticipation. With a flick of his wrist, he threw the stone high into the air. It soared in a perfect arc, spinning rapidly before falling back down, where he caught it effortlessly. The girls gasped in unison, clapping their hands with delight. "Do it again!" they cried, their excitement rekindled. He laughed, obliged, and for a while, the clearing was filled with laughter and joy as the human soldier entertained his curious audience. They were not so different, he realized, despite the worlds between them. And in their innocence, he found a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even in a galaxy torn by war, there could still be moments of genuine connection, where curiosity overcame fear, and wonder triumphed over distrust. As the soldier continued to amuse the gathered crowd with simple but mesmerizing tricks, the alien girls grew bolder, more daring in their questions and gestures. One of them, her golden eyes sparkling like stars, pointed to the strange device strapped to his hip. "What is this?" she asked, her voice like a soft breeze. "Is it a weapon?" The soldier paused, his hand resting on the object. He glanced at her, then at the rest of the group, who leaned in closer, eager for an explanation. He weighed the decision in his mind. Was it wise to show them? But their innocence disarmed him, and after a moment, he unfastened the holster and held the weapon out for them to see. "It's a blaster," he said, "used for defense." They gasped, but not in fear. Their awe was palpable, eyes wide as they admired the sleek, metallic design of the weapon. It looked deadly, foreign, yet fascinating. "May we touch it?" one asked, her voice trembling with excitement. He hesitated, then shook his head gently. "It's dangerous," he said. "Not something to play with." The taller girl, the one with the braided ribbon in her hair, tilted her head. "You speak of danger, yet your eyes are kind. Do you fear us?" The question caught him off guard. He looked around at the sea of shimmering faces, all so full of life and wonder. "No," he said after a pause. "I don't fear you. I fear what others might do if they found this place." A hush fell over the group. They understood, even if they hadn't experienced it themselves. The idea of conflict, of outsiders bringing destruction, was alien to them, but they sensed the weight behind his words. Another girl, younger than the rest, with hair like spun platinum, tugged on his sleeve. "Why do humans fight so much?" she asked, her voice soft and curious. "Why can't they be like us?" The soldier crouched down to meet her gaze. "It's complicated," he said. "Humans are restless. We want more knowledge, more power, more land. Sometimes that leads to war. But not all of us are like that." He smiled gently. "Some of us just want peace." She nodded thoughtfully, as if processing the complexity of his answer. Then, as if to lighten the mood, another girl giggled. "You must be tired of all these questions. Do humans dance?" The sudden shift caught him off guard, but he chuckled. "Dance?" he echoed. "Yes, humans dance." "Then show us." Before he could protest, one of them began humming a soft, lilting tune. The others joined in, their voices blending into an ethereal harmony that floated through the clearing like a gentle breeze. Their song was hauntingly beautiful, and it drew the soldier in, wrapping around him like a spell. He smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. "All right," he said, standing. "But I'm not very good." They giggled, forming a circle around him, their silver hair shimmering in the sunlight. He took a deep breath and moved awkwardly at first, his steps unsure and clumsy compared to their graceful forms. But they didn't care. They laughed and twirled around him, their excitement contagious, their joy unrestrained. Soon, he found himself relaxing, moving more freely. The stiffness in his limbs melted away as he let himself be swept up in their rhythm. The girls cheered, delighted by his effort, and they spun around him like shimmering constellations, their laughter mingling with the soft melody of their song. In that moment, under the twin suns of an alien world, the soldier felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: peace. There was no war here, no orders, no enemies. Just the warmth of the sun, the beauty of the land, and the innocent joy of those who had never known violence. As the dance slowed and the music faded, one of the girls stepped forward, her expression soft and sincere. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion, "for sharing this with us. You've brought something new to our world." He smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Thank you," he replied, "for reminding me what life can be like without war." The moment stretched between them, a fragile but powerful bond forming in the space where curiosity met kindness. Neither knew what the future would hold, but for now, in this clearing beneath the amethyst sky, they shared something rare and precious, a glimpse of a world untouched by conflict, where hope could still bloom like the alien flowers beneath their feet. And for the first time in a long time, the soldier allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, peace was possible. The sun began to sink lower on the horizon, the golden light softening into hues of amber and crimson, casting long shadows over the alien landscape. The warmth of the day lingered, but the air grew cooler, and the gentle breeze carried the fragrant scent of the nearby crystalline trees. The soldier stood amidst his newfound companions, the alien girls who had drawn so close to him in the span of hours, their curiosity still not entirely sated. "Will you stay with us?" the girl with the braided ribbon asked, her voice hopeful but hesitant. He sighed, looking out over the vast plains. "I wish I could," he admitted. "But I'm not supposed to be here. Others will come looking for me soon." Her expression faltered, a flicker of sadness passing over her features. "But why?" she pressed. "There's no war here. No one would harm you." He turned to face her, his gaze softening. "It's not about harm. It's about duty. My people won't understand this place. They'll see resources, not beauty. They'll see you as different." His voice grew quieter, almost bitter. "They'll want to take what you have." The taller girl, clearly one of the more contemplative among them, nodded thoughtfully. "You protect them, don't you? Even though they don't deserve it." He didn't answer immediately, the weight of her words settling in his chest. "I protect what I can," he said finally. "It's all I know how to do." The younger girl, the one with hair like platinum silk, tugged on his hand again. "You don't have to go," she said, her voice pleading. "You could stay here with us. We'd keep you safe." The sincerity in her eyes nearly broke him. He knelt down to her level, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I wish I could," he said softly. "But staying would bring danger to you, and I can't let that happen." The group fell silent, their once vibrant energy dimmed by the realization that this moment, as beautiful as it was, could not last forever. Yet, the soldier felt an odd sense of peace. He had found something here that he had thought lost to him: hope. "Then we will remember you," the braided girl said firmly. "Even if you must leave, we will never forget." Another girl, her golden eyes filled with mischief, piped up, "You should leave us with something to remember you by." He chuckled, reaching into a small pocket on his belt. He pulled out a simple medallion, battered and worn, but still gleaming faintly. "This," he said, holding it out, "was given to me when I first joined the service. It's not much, but it's a reminder of where I started." The braided girl accepted it reverently, her hands cupping the medallion as if it were the most precious thing in the universe. "We'll keep it safe," she promised. "And when we look at it, we'll remember you and the peace you wished for." The soldier rose to his feet, the sky now darkening into shades of indigo, the first stars twinkling into view. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. "I have to go," he said, his voice firm but regretful. "But know that I'll never forget you either." The girls gathered around him one last time, their gazes luminous in the twilight. They reached out, touching his hands, his arms, as if memorizing every detail of him before he disappeared from their world. "Goodbye, human," the tallest one said, her voice trembling but strong. "May the stars guide you safely." "And you," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "May this world remain untouched by war." He turned and began walking back toward his ship, each step feeling heavier than the last. As he reached the edge of the clearing, he glanced back one final time. They stood together, a shining cluster of ethereal beauty, watching him with a mixture of sadness and gratitude. He raised a hand in farewell, then entered the ship, the hatch sealing behind him. The engines roared to life, and the ground trembled beneath the powerful thrust. The craft rose into the air, lifting him away from the only place he had ever truly felt peace. As the ship ascended into the darkening sky, the alien girls remained in the clearing, their eyes fixed on the fading light of the vessel. And though he was gone, the memory of the human soldier would linger, an enduring symbol of curiosity, kindness, and the fragile hope for a peace that, even in the vastness of the galaxy, might one day be found. As the ship ascended higher into the atmosphere, the soldier remained at the control panel, staring out the viewport. The violet and gold hues of the alien world shrank beneath him, and soon, the planet became a glowing sphere suspended in the endless void. He clenched his jaw, fighting the strange ache in his chest. He had left countless battlefields behind, lost comrades and distant places, but never before had he felt such a profound sense of loss at simply leaving. The hum of the engines filled the cabin, and the familiar coldness of space settled around him. His comm system flickered to life, static crackling before a voice cut through. "Lieutenant, we lost your signal for hours. Status report." He hesitated for a moment, torn between duty and the desire to protect the secret of the peaceful world below. He finally responded, keeping his tone even. "I encountered turbulence. Landed on an uncharted planet. No hostiles. No significant resources. It's barren." A pause on the other end, then a curt response. "Understood. Return to base for debrief. Command will want answers." "Copy that," he said, cutting the transmission. His fingers tightened on the controls, and he exhaled slowly, knowing he had done what little he could to shield the planet from prying eyes. But his mind lingered on the girls he had left behind. Their laughter, their curiosity, and the way they had so earnestly offered him a place among them. He hoped his deception would keep them safe, even if it meant never seeing them again. On the surface of the alien planet, the girls stood in silence long after the ship disappeared from view. The tallest one, who still held the medallion in her hands, closed her fingers around it and pressed it to her heart. "He lied to protect us," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "He didn't tell his people about us." The youngest, her platinum hair catching the soft glow of the rising moons, looked up at the sky. "Will he ever come back?" she asked, her voice filled with both hope and sadness. The braided girl shook her head. "I don't think he can." She lifted the medallion, letting it catch the moonlight. "But he left a part of himself with us. We must honor that." Another girl, the one with golden eyes, stepped forward, her expression determined. "We should remember everything he taught us. If others come, we'll be ready. Not with war, but with wisdom." The others nodded, their resolve growing. They were not warriors, but they were not powerless. They would protect their world in their own way, with knowledge, unity, and the quiet strength of those who had never known violence but understood its cost. The group slowly dispersed, returning to their homes beneath the crystalline trees, their songs still lingering in the air. They carried with them the memory of the human soldier, the first they had ever seen, and the promise they made to keep the peace he so desperately wished for them. In the vastness of space, the soldier's ship hurtled toward his base, but his heart remained light years away on that serene, alien world. He knew that in the grand scheme of the galaxy, his time there would be forgotten by most, but not by him, and not by those he left behind. Perhaps, he thought, peace wasn't a distant dream. Perhaps it was something fragile and precious, hidden in corners of the galaxy that few would ever find. And perhaps, in his small act of kindness, he had helped it grow, even if only for a short while. The human soldier's ship hurtled through the void of space, but his mind remained anchored to the alien world below. The quiet laughter, the song-like voices, and the gentle, curious faces haunted his thoughts. He had left behind something irreplaceable, a glimpse of what life could be without war. Yet, as his ship drew closer to the cold steel expanse of his military base, he felt the weight of duty settle heavily on his shoulders once more. Approaching base, the automated voice chimed, sterile and emotionless. The sprawling station loomed ahead, all sharp angles and harsh lights. It was a reminder of the life he belonged to, one built on conflict and survival. His craft docked, and the familiar hiss of pressurized air filled the cabin as the hatch opened. He stepped out, his boots echoing against the metallic floor. A superior officer greeted him, flanked by several soldiers. "Lieutenant," the officer barked, his sharp eyes scanning the soldier for any signs of weakness. "You were off course for longer than expected. Report." The soldier straightened, his face impassive. "I landed on an uncharted world. No life forms of consequence. No resources. Just barren land." He kept his voice steady, concealing the truth behind a wall of practiced indifference. The officer narrowed his eyes but seemed satisfied. "Very well. Debriefing at 0600. Dismissed." He gave a curt salute and walked away, the cold corridors closing in around him. Yet, even as he left the officer behind, a small, rebellious hope ignited in his chest. He had done what he could to protect the alien world. Now, it was up to fate. Months passed. The soldier continued his duties, but something within him had changed. He felt the hollowness of every mission, the futility of each battle. The memory of that peaceful world clung to him, a quiet reminder that there was more to the galaxy than endless war. One night, alone in his quarters, he stared out the viewport at the stars. His mind wandered, as it often did, to the alien girls, wondering if they were safe, if they still danced under the twin suns. Then, the impossible happened. A soft chime echoed through the room, signaling an incoming message. He frowned, puzzled, as he hadn't expected any communication. He activated the terminal, and a small, grainy image flickered to life. It was a view of the alien world. His breath caught in his throat as the camera panned across the familiar violet grass and crystalline trees. And then he saw them, the girls, standing together, their silver hair shimmering, their eyes bright with joy. One of them, the tallest, held up the medallion he had given them, letting it glint in the sunlight. Her voice, though faint through the transmission, was clear enough. "We remember you," she said, her tone soft but resolute. "We kept our promise. Our world is still at peace." Tears pricked his eyes as he watched. The signal had somehow found its way across the vast expanse of space, an improbable yet perfect reminder of the connection they had forged. "Thank you," he whispered, though they could not hear him. "For not forgetting." As the transmission ended, he sat in stunned silence, a rare smile breaking across his face. Against all odds, they were safe. He had made a difference, however small, and they had repaid him with a gift beyond measure. In the days that followed, something remarkable happened. The soldier began sharing stories, not about war, but about peace, about the hidden world he had found. It was subtle at first, but those who heard the tales began to listen. They spoke of the possibility of worlds untouched by violence, of the hope that there could be more than endless conflict. His words planted seeds in the hearts of those around him. And though it was a small beginning, it was enough. Somewhere in the galaxy, on a world of violet grass and crystalline trees, the alien girls continued to dance beneath twin suns. And among the stars, a human soldier carried their memory with him, a beacon of hope in a galaxy that desperately needed it. Perhaps peace wasn't such an impossible dream after all. And perhaps, someday, he would return.